It's 8 p.m. Here are our top stories. A South Metro suburb on edge tonight after a body was found at the scene of a house fire.
The entire street is blocked off, so something serious is happening for sure.
Tonight, Denver 7's live at the scene with the latest on the investigation.
This is a lot of activity for this neighborhood. Certainly something is going on that's unusual.
A Denver teacher scammed out of thousands of dollars through online banking.
And pretty much everyone just kept saying, you authorized it, so we can't do anything about it.
Contact Denver 7 getting answers as lawmakers fight to stop this from happening again.
The banks are well aware of these scams, but have done little to enhance Zelle's security.
Plus harsher penalties versus harm reduction as Colorado's fentanyl bill moves through the next round of changes.
We have to be very careful about how that bill is worded.
Good evening. Thank you very much for watching Denver 7 News on Local 3. I'm Shannon Ogden.
I'm Danny New. We begin tonight in Castle Rock, where investigations are underway after a body was found at the scene of a house fire.
Here's what we know so far. Crews initially responded to a report of a 2-alarm fire at this home along Dove Valley Place. This is just off Founders Parkway. But shortly after, police set up a crime scene there. Officials say they are working on multiple investigations. That includes what caused the fire and how that person died, as well as the second person who was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
Denver 7's Rob Harris has been on the scene since earlier this afternoon. Rob, you spoke to residents shocked to see such a large investigation in their community.
Yeah, and Danny, I've had so many people come up to me just trying to figure out what's going on, because it's a small, tight-knit community and they're all getting texts from each other saying there's something going on, but they don't really have that many answers. And that's what we're waiting for from police too. As you mentioned, multiple investigations by both police and fire who've been on scene now for 4 hours or more and still have quite a bit of a presence here with the crime tape up and several police and fire vehicles lining the street. But it was even more of a presence earlier today with that intersection completely blocked off by crime tape. I talked to Laura Cavey. She lives just up the street from the scene, and she also represents her neighborhood on the Castle Rock Town Council. And she told me she's never seen a response like this. It has the entire neighborhood talking.
It's a very small town, community. Everybody knows everybody. I know some of the people that live on this block, and so we want to make sure everyone's safe.
Yeah, and when something happens, everyone knows pretty quickly.
Yes, I knew probably within 3 minutes.
Now, I also talked to a mom here in the neighborhood. Her kids go to Sage Canyon Elementary School, which is just down the block from this house. And she tells me her kids were put on a temporary lockdown in the school as all of this happened.
We got a text message and a phone call saying that the school that's right over there was on secure status, which is locked down, just because there was a structure fire in the neighborhood. There are a lot of lights, a lot of police cars. The entire street is blocked off, so something serious is happening for sure.
Now, police have told us there's no threat to the public, and because of that, the secure status, the lockdown at the elementary school was lifted shortly after, and her kids were able to come home. But in the meantime, we're not sure when we're getting more updates from the Castle Rock police. We do know they're on scene. They're going to be here for quite a while, but it's unclear when we might learn more about the cause of the fire and also the death of that individual. Shannon.
All right, Rob Harris, we appreciate your work on that one all day today. Greeley police now say a person shot by police in Evans has died. They say just before noon, police were responding to reports of an armed suspect. They say the suspect refused to cooperate and fired at police. The suspect's identity has not been released, and there were no other injuries reported.
One thief responsible for stealing thousands from Coloradans, and now that deputies have that suspect behind bars, they're asking for more people to come forward. The Weld County Sheriff's Office says this man, Rustin Feetner, was one of the victims, and Feetner says an estimated $25,000 worth of equipment was stolen from him this past February, including his Polaris utility vehicle. Thankfully, deputies were able to piece together who was behind this crime and multiple others, actually, that were property thefts across northern Colorado. And on April 9th, Colton Thompson, who you're seeing there, was arrested and formally charged in Weld County District Court with 25 counts, including 18 felonies. Law enforcement believes that Thompson was actually leading a property crime ring in the area, and he's suspected to be involved in more burglaries. And overall, Feetner just hopes that other victims will speak out.
I know there's been multiple counties that this crossed over that needs to come forward and needs to make sure that they're getting their properties back, for one, but two, making sure we're attaching this so that we can hopefully put him away for a while.
And coming up on Denver 7 News at 10, we'll talk about the clues that the suspect left behind, which then helped law enforcement solve the crimes.
Troubling trend across our country. Anti-Semitic incidents have increased for yet another year, with the Rocky Mountain region seeing a 49% surge. The Anti-Defamation League says in Colorado, the number of incidents targeting Jewish people increased by 53% last year. Our state reported 92 anti-Semitic incidents last year. That is 8th highest in the U.S. Now, also across the U.S., more than 2,700 incidents, and that averages to 7 per day, a 34% increase from 2020 to 2021.
Top U.S. military officials have been meeting with their counterparts in Germany to show support for Ukraine during Russia's invasion. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin met with more than 40 NATO allies and other partners in Germany. Meanwhile, this comes as Russia's foreign minister delivered a chilling message today saying, quote, "There's a real risk of a nuclear war and that it cannot be underestimated."
President Biden has granted clemency to a man convicted of trafficking drugs on the Western Slope. Now, we don't have a mugshot. It's not available for 50-year-old Paul Hernandez Contreras. He was sentenced to 9 years in prison on a federal drug trafficking charges in 2019. Investigators say he drove 10 pounds of meth and half a pound of cocaine to rifle from California. With clemency, he'll be released to home confinement next April.
A controversial bill created to put a stop to our state's fentanyl crisis faced its first test in the state Senate today. If you remember, the bill focuses on tougher penalties for both dealers and users. The bill already cleared the House, but only after several rewrites, and with one of the biggest changes being an amendment to make possession of 1 gram of fentanyl a felony. And before today's committee hearing, a rally was held outside the state capitol by groups that say criminalizing people will not fix this problem.
It prevents you from doing almost any professional career out there. Prevents you from getting any reliable, stable housing. The housing that you can get is in a poor area, which leaves you vulnerable to more addiction and more relapse. So it really does set a lot of barriers.
An attempt to make any amount of fentanyl possession a felony narrowly failed in the House, which is something law enforcement in particular is fighting for. The Senate is expected to make its own changes to the bill before voting on it. And tonight we are going in depth on a new scam.
And you actually might already be using the service being targeted here. JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Citigroup, 4 of the largest banks in the U.S., and all 4 own a piece of Zelle. Now, Zelle's like Venmo. It allows you to send money directly to others online or through your phone.
Services like Zelle have skyrocketed since the pandemic began. Last year, 1.8 billion transactions were conducted using Zelle, and those payments were up 59% from 2020, which is totaling $490 billion. Well, now viewers are reaching out to Contact Denver 7, saying that they are being targeted through Zelle.
One woman's been trying to get $3,000 back now for 4 months. And after Contact Denver 7 started making calls, Wells Fargo refunded the money just this afternoon. Jacqueline Allen found that banks are now under the microscope for not protecting people, and they're now quietly giving their money back.
I am a 2nd grade teacher.
Megan McDonald doesn't usually answer the phone during the school day, but when her bank kept calling last December,
The person said that they were a representative from Wells Fargo.
it felt like an emergency.
They asked if I or anyone had spent $3,000 on my account, which I told them no.
The caller walked her through protecting her drained funds using her Wells Fargo app.
And he had me search in my own name.
Through the popular Zelle platform, she transferred the money she thought to herself, but it was actually to a scammer.
What does it mean to you to lose $3,000?
I mean, a lot. I'm a teacher. That is more than I make in a month. I had a hard time paying my mortgage that month. I mean, it's affected me financially a lot.
Contact Denver 7 has learned
the money's gone.
She's part of a disturbing national trend.
Wiped my account out, had a zero balance.
Wells Fargo customers defrauded using Zelle with no protection. Even Congress taking note in this hearing.
The banks are well aware of these scams, but have done little to enhance Zelle's security or reimburse defrauded consumers.
In a statement to Contact Denver 7, the operator of Zelle claims Zelle does not hold the funds and simply provides messaging between financial institutions. So Wells Fargo tells us criminals can spoof a caller ID number so it appears as if a call or text is from your bank, and it's working to raise awareness.
Now when you pull it up, it comes up with this scam alert.
Like this scam alert now on Wells Fargo's app. Too late for Megan, who tried for months to get her money back and now wants others to learn from her mistakes and her banks.
Why did you reach out to Contact Denver 7?
I am, trying to do what's right. Just because their security isn't strong enough, we're getting punished for that or penalized, just doesn't make sense.
We are happy to update here that Megan said Wells Fargo put the $3,000 back in her bank account this afternoon. Now, the bank wouldn't tell us why. In her case, they are refunding the money, but national reports show this is happening more often as more victims come forward.
And to give you some context, it's unclear exactly how many Americans have been impacted by scams through Zelle because the company does not publicly report it. However, two U.S. senators are trying to change that. Yesterday, Senators Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts and Bob Menendez of New Jersey sent a letter to Zelle's operator asking what steps it had taken to protect consumers from these sophisticated scams. I should mention both senators are on the Senate Banking Committee. Today, the director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was questioned by the committee on what banks are doing to protect customers from scams through services like Zelle.
I'm certainly aware of the complaints. The fraud has gotten more egregious that we're seeing through P2P payment transfers. It's something we're highly attuned to.
Senators Warren and Menendez also want Zelle to outline how it chooses which customers will receive refunds if they are scammed.
Coming up on Denver 7 News at 8, wildfire season arriving earlier and lasting longer.
Unless we get the moisture, it's going to be a banner year for fires.
We go 360 in depth on the new tactics for fighting fires and what's being done to keep Colorado's main mountain highways open.
We're going to need more resources quicker than probably what we did last year.
Low to mid 70s today, but 80s are on the way.
The goose is loose. Is this the craziest thing that's ever happened to you in your 15 years here?
Yes. It's taking care of a bird, yes.
One local thrift store's kind deeds are sure to leave you with a giggle or a gaggle.
That's pretty cool. You're gonna have little baby goose run around. Geese.